Alright, so in this exercise, we're going to create and edit design options for a project. And we're also going to display the design options in 3D views. So design option can be found here on the manage, and then you can see here design options. You can also access design options here on our toolbar below. Okay, so it's the same. You click that, you click this one, so it's the same. So I'm gonna select design options. So by the way, the definition of design options, it creates and manages design option sets and individual design options for the project. So we use the design options to explore alternative designs. So each design option set contains one primary option and one or more secondary option. Okay, so this is very useful if you have multiple options on your design. So in this exercise, we have two options for our roof. So we're going to create design option. So I'll select design options, and then let's create a new option set. Okay, so we now have one option set here. So let's rename that, click, rename, and then let's call that roofs, and then okay. And then for the first option, so let's rename that. So click, rename. So let's call this complex. Okay, and then let's create another option. Okay, so let's select new. So click option 1 and then rename it. So let's call this single ridge. Okay, so single ridge, and then okay. So we now have two options for our roof. So we have complex and single ridge. So I'm gonna select complex to start editing it. So complex is our primary view or primary design option. So you can also make single ridge as your primary if you want by selecting single ridge and select here make primary. Okay, but I'm not gonna change that. I'll just use the default setting. So now I'm going to edit the complex design option. So let's click this, edit selected. Okay, so let's click that one to start editing. All right, so after that, so it's now highlighted, meaning we are now ready to edit our first design option. So I'm gonna close this one. All right, so let's create our first option for the roof. So architecture, let's go to roof by footprint. Okay, click that, and then you hover your pointer like that. Okay, just move your pointer like that and then press tab. Okay, so once you see it highlights the connection of walls, so you click it, and then you will now be able to see your roof lines. Okay, and then I'll select here modify. Now I do not want to have this line here, this line, and then this line to have the slope here. So I'm going to select one of the line, hold control, and then let me click this one too, and then uncheck defines slope. Okay, all right, so here, so I want to split somewhere here. So as you can see, there's already a reference line there. So I'm going to use the split element here. So for my design, I want that to be split. And then modify to deselect or terminate the split tool. So let's select this line here, the splitted line, and then let's define the slope for that. So let's click define slope, and then I'll select here modify. All right, so after that, let's finish it, and there you go. So there's now our first design option for the roof. Okay, so next, let's go back to our design option to edit the second design option. So let's click this icon, the design options. So we are now finished editing this. So I'm going to select finish editing, and let us now edit our single ridge. So let's click single ridge and then edit selected. So as you can see, it has gone back to its original view, our main model. So we are now ready to create our second option, single ridge. So let's close this. Okay, so let's go to our architecture, roof by footprint. Okay, so this time the design is, I just want a simple one. Click these lines here, this one, and then I'm gonna use trim extend to corner to connect these two lines there. Okay, all right, and then select modify to terminate the tool. So I do not want this line here and then this line here to have slope. So I'm going to select both and then uncheck defines slope. Okay. Now, let me now finish this. Finish edit mode. There you go. So this is now the design of that roof. So I'm not yet done here on my second option. So I'm going to select level 1. So I want to add columns and railings to the design option. So let me just drag that columns and railings and then put it here. There you go. And then I'll select here, modify. Okay. So this is now my second option, the single ridge option. So let's go back to our design option here and then let's finish it. There you go. So this is our primary design option, our complex, and then the other one is single ridge, this one, single, that one, and then complex. Okay, so if I select complex here and then go to the 3D view, as you can see, the walls are not connected to the roof, right? So I want to connect these walls to the roof. Okay, so same with my single ridge. Okay, so let me just create two views here, two 3D views. One 3D view for my complex and then one 3D view for single ridge. So let's right click that and then duplicate. So I'll right click this and rename. So this is my complex roof. And then this is my single ridge. Okay. So here on my single ridge view, so I'm going to open the visibility graphic overrides. So let's type VV, Victor, just type VB on your keyboard, or you can click this button here, edit, the visibility graphics overrides. So let's click edit to open the visibility graphic overrides, or you can also type VV, okay? And then let's go to the design options here. So on our design option, for this view, we don't want the complex because we want single ridge. So let's change that to single ridge. Okay, and then that's it. Just select here OK so that it shows here our single ridge. So we now have two 3D views here. One complex, one single ridge. So let's go back to complex. Okay, and then let's change this to complex. And then let's go to the visibility graphic overrides again. So let me just, okay, so it's already set to complex. Okay, so we have complex and then we have single ridge. Okay, so now we want to add these walls to our design option so that we can extend the walls to the roof. Because right now, as you can see on my complex view, it only highlights the complex roof, right? It doesn't highlight the walls, so that's why I cannot click. See, I cannot select these walls. Same with single ridge. So here on my single ridge, it only highlights my single ridge. So again, the roof I cannot select, thus I cannot extend that to the roof. So we want to add these walls around to the design option. Okay, so to do that, so let's go back to our design option. And then, so let's go to our manage. So this time I'll select design option here. Okay, so this one. So let's click this option here. Actually, you can also select it here. Let's select main model, because if we select main model, it will highlight also the walls, right? So this is the main model. Okay, so this is not your design option complex and single ridge. It's just so happened that our current view here is single ridge. So you change your view to main model so that all will be active. All elements that is not part of the design option will be active, and you'll be able to add that to the design option. So make sure you change that to main model. Okay, so otherwise if it is complex or single ridge, it only highlights the design option. Now let's select main model here, And then as you can see, I can now select the walls here. So I'm gonna hover my pointer and then press tab, and then it will highlight all the walls, right? So again, move your pointer like that. Do not click, just move, and then press tab once. It will highlight all the walls, and then click. All right, there you go. And then after that, let's go back to our manage, and then you will now be able to select this option, add to set. Okay, if you do not select any elements like that, as you can see, this is disable, right? So I'm gonna hover my pointer, press tab, and then click. And then let's go to the manage, and then I can now select add to set. Click that. So I want that to be added to my complex and then single ridge design option. So that's fine. So it's already checked. So okay. And there you go. So we are now ready to extend the walls. Now, let's change our view to, I'll just go to the complex view, and then make sure you change that to complex 2. Okay. So as you can see, we are now ready to extend these walls to the roof. So I'm going to hover my pointer, press tab, click, and then attach, and then attach top, and then click the roof. There you go. So it's now extended. So I'm going to change my visual style to detail level to fine, and then visual style to shaded view. There you go. So there's our complex. So let's go to my single ridge. Double click, and then change this to single ridge. Okay. So let's hover our pointer to the wall, press tab, you click, and then let's attach top to the roof. There you go. Okay. So we now have our complex. Okay. And then we now have our single ridge. So this is the complex and then single ridge. So let me just change this to detail level fine, and then visual style to shaded. So we now have two options, design option created. So one single ridge, and then the other one is complex. Okay. So make sure you change it back to main model. So we now have complex and then single ridge. So let me just close this, and then let me open. Okay, so here's my level 2. So I can actually right click this and then duplicate to create level 2 single ridge, and then right click this one, rename to level 2 complex. No need. Okay, so complex, and then here for the complex, so it's already complex view, so level 2. Okay, so let's go to visibility graphic overrides on our level 2 single ridge design option, change it to single ridge. Okay, there you go. And then for complex, visibility graphic overrides, change that to complex. There you go. So we now have complex, single ridge, and then 3D view. Okay, so let's go to the view, and then let's tile it. Tile views. There you go. So this is our option. Like that. All right. So this is now the final exercise. So you have two options for your roof. So you just created two options for your roof. One complex roof, and then the other one is single ridge. Floor plans, and then 3D view. All right. So thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.